I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab, along with my wife Tatum, who also records the Motherhood Moment videos. In this video, I want to share with you why it is so important to anchor your business and life vision on Christian values, and why it's so important to have God as the solid rock in the foundation of everything you do. And I'll talk about what happens when you don't do this, how I've experienced that personally in the past before, the negative consequences of that, the natural negative consequences that arise in society, in the community, in society, if we don't do it. And then hopefully you'll come away, if anyone's listening, with an understanding of why it is critically important to anchor everything you do in becoming Christ-like, eternal, infinite, never-changing principles, and how that is what you use today to align your life, and then you make your meaningful progression towards that goal, and by doing so it gives everything you do in your life meaning and purpose. So just very quickly before we jump in, I'm recording these videos at the moment in the early stage as a way to explore these topics on a deeper level. I've spent over the last several months probably 1,000 hours, and that's no exaggeration, into research, reading, studying the Bible, reading, journaling, studying all kinds of things, in order to understand my own transformation, my own struggle from going from paying with a marketing agency that was based entirely on transactional metrics and goals. I wanted to make money for freedom and lifestyle, to ultimately becoming a Christian and then trying to build a business based on biblical principles. I did a complete U-turn. My research and study is to understand the catalyst for this journey, what triggered it, the different events that took place along the way, why they happened, and then more importantly, if I can understand why they happened, I can then extract these lessons from it, and then apply the common principles here to help anyone else that's struggling as an entrepreneur, a Christian entrepreneur, that you may have a high-ticket offer in your business, you've got an established business, money may not be an issue for you anymore, but you struggle to find a meaning and purpose. And so the purpose here for me is I want to explore these ideas, explore these topics, speak it out loud. I want to teach them, with the full knowledge that no one is going to be listening. So, it's early days. I'm not the best on video yet. It's my repetition, and if anyone's listening, I hope you enjoy the journey. Okay, so why do you need to anchor your vision, your business vision, your life vision, every other vision in Christian values? Well, first of all, let's have a look what happens when you don't. Let's have a look what happens when you don't have a solid anchor to base your life on. And I will use myself as an example to explain this. Quickly, if you notice that I went out on a training run over the weekend, and I got a little bit sunburnt from being out for all day long, and so I'm a little bit sunburnt, and the sunburn is a bit uncomfortable. So I apologise if I'm if my face is itchy or if I'm moving my legs, because I've got sunburn. I'm not doing any kind of strange movements or anything. So myself, what happened to me? So I started off as a freelance copywriter. I probably had in terms of working online and helping businesses make money online through some form of written content, I've been doing that for over 10 years. Copywriting, specialising in copywriting, probably 8-9 years maybe, focusing on helping people create better, higher quality, irresistible offers, so to speak, and then selling that through email marketing. I've probably 7-8 years in that. Invested a lot of time, energy, effort, resources into learning, training, studying, buying training, group coaching, one-on-one coaching, business coaches, personal development coaches, all of that stuff. I got lucky as a freelancer and found a dream client came to me. At the time when they came out of the blue, it was my wife gave birth to my first son. A client I'd worked with, things had just fallen apart. Couldn't really get things to work for them. It was the natural end of the contract. We then found ourselves with not much money in the bank. We had our first son. Naturally, things were tense. Financial issues on top of sleepless nights for the first child, and Jamie was tough. He was tough as a kid. He was tough as a baby, so cried a lot, colicky. And then one day, a client out of the blue came and through a referral of all things, and I turned that into a contract that lasted for over 2 years. I made this client a lot of money, let's say. Realistically, they made a lot of money through my promotions and selling their high ticket offer, their high ticket coaching program and scale, because they had the business systems in place, they had a sales team, they had everything set up, and they were already doing high 7 figures a year. So naturally, me coming in and applying email marketing, improving the offer, they make a lot of money, but it's relative to what they were already making. And the point is that as a result of that, I suddenly thought that I was fantastic. Well, deep down, I knew the reason why the client was making a lot of money. Deep down, I knew it wasn't necessarily my skills, but I also like to think that I have the skills as well. And naturally, that led me to think, well, if I can do this with this client, why don't I set my next target to do this with 5 clients? And then five times the retainer fee I was currently getting equals this much per month. Imagine what I'd do with that much per month. Sounds easy. All I've got to do is get 5 clients like this. And so, after working with business coaches and different people and different activities, it's quite easy to reverse engineer what you need to do. You can calculate how many people you need to reach out to, how many people would respond, how many calls you need, what calls you need to have, how many initial offers, like a low price initial offer you'd need, and then you'd calculate, okay, so let's say I'd work with 20 people and give them like a $500 first offer, something really small and insignificant to them, get a big result, wow, and then, if I made them 10 grand from the first offer, the next offer I'd charge would be, substantially more than the first one, and I'd say, hey, you just reinvest what you just made. And then I'd get them another result, and then, hey, why don't you just pay me a monthly fee? And we'll do this every month kind of thing. Sounded easy in theory, and I thought I could do it. So then I set up my marketing agency. Set up the marketing agency, and my goal with Freedom with Marketing was ultimately, I had a vision, but I wanted to help people get more freedom in their lives and this and that, and freedom for lifestyle, and I genuinely wanted to do it. But the reality is that wanting to make money for freedom of lifestyle, it's just not really deep enough, it's not really good enough, it's not really, a strong enough motivator. And that's when everything went wrong for me. That's when things quickly did a U-turn, and reality quickly set in. Although at the time, when I was going through the present moment back a few years back, I didn't quite realise how bad things were going to get for me. So with my dream client, one day, out of the blue, all of a sudden I received a message from the CEO. We had a good working relationship. You know, we spoke quite often, as we had done over the previous 12 months, 18 months, whatever it is. And he told me that at the end of the month, they terminating my contract. Thanks for everything, but that's all, goodbye. And when I inquired about, you know, what's going on, what's the problem, I said, my agreement here says that I'm going to make you at least this amount of a return on your investment. And then I said, if we look back over the last 18 months, I've substantially done more than that, including getting you out of a mess more than once. And I said, well, last month I'm promising to give you 6 times what my fee is, but last month I gave you 9 times. What's wrong? And the response kind of floored me, and it was the first sort of the first kind of realization of the path that I was on was not the right one. And basically he said that, well, we haven't hit our sales targets this month. You know, we have expenses to pay. I think their monthly expenses at the time was over $300,000 per month. So just in order to break even, they needed $300,000. Otherwise, they're borrowing money from the bank to pay for things. And so they're cutting back on expenses. And so, because I was a contractor, I was first to go. But the reason why they let me go was they said, well, you know, Christmas is coming, and the sales team are in Christmas mode, and they just didn't. No, let me rephrase. This was after Christmas. This was in January, I think, and it was the sales team were in Christmas mode. They didn't convert as many of your book calls, so therefore we have less people in, and you know, we didn't get as many sales as we expected, so we have to let you go. Which I couldn't really understand that, where as part of my agreement I was to I over-delivered every single time, every single month I over-delivered, because I was in the pursuit of excellence, pursuit of giving the best I possibly could to this client. And my contract was terminated like that because the people downstream from me were not hitting their KPIs and were not converting what they were supposed to convert. So all of a sudden I was gone. And that was the first of many disasters for me. And the lesson I took from that was, well, what do I expect? If my entire mission, vision, goal, my why is I want to make money for freedom of lifestyle, then that becomes my North Star. That is my solid rock that I base everything on. And so all my decisions downstream of that is focused on money, 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 money. And so therefore all of the language, all of the interactions I had with this client was, I want to do this for you in order to give you a big return on your investment in my services so that I can make more money from you. And that was it. There was no more depth to the relationship other than the client paid me to get 6 times more back than what they paid me. And I dedicated my time in the pursuit of excellence for this particular client because I wanted to make them more money to justify my fee for them. It was 100% transactional, and that there was no loyalty. Within a heartbeat, I was gone. Well, I managed to renegotiate things for the client, and it worked out better for me, at least for a few more months. And so that's when I seriously started to work on building my agency, trying to hire people to do various lead generation on LinkedIn, cold email, all these different things, buying training, paying for consulting, you know, all of this, and it just would not work. Nothing would work. The freelancers on my team, initially I thought they were great, but the typical pattern with hiring people, especially from Upwork, was the first 2 weeks they are extremely enthusiastic, and then it would plateau, and then slowly it goes down as the freelancer that you're working with, they realise that they got into a groove, they got comfortable with the tasks that they've given, they're very happy, they know exactly what they need to do each day in order to justify their hourly rate, and quite frankly they take advantage of it. I'll hold my hands up, in the early days as a freelancer, when I used to charge by the hour, especially if it was on Upwork where there was a tracker, honestly I took my time as well, because I knew I'd get a little bit more. So, you know, the sins I committed as a freelancer to other clients, focusing entirely on money, you know, it's come back to bite me, because people think to me. And so this is where things started to go down. I continuously kept trying new offers, new angles, new positions, new everything. Wouldn't work. I hired a business coach, and there's nothing wrong with a business coach who I work with. I liked him as a person. You know, he was someone that had a successful business, but you know, the problem was that I couldn't see this at the time, but I can now, is that, well, I had my own goals. This is what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to make this much money per month, and then the coach was there to talk with me, help me move towards hitting these goals. Ultimately, it didn't work. You know, 2 years later, I reached a point where I just, nothing would work. I thought, okay, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to go back. I'm going to try Upwork. I had some success on Upwork in the past. Let's build Upwork as a revenue stream. I paid $4,000 for the coach on Upwork to help me go through it and help me do this. And you know, it was intensive working with him. I got a lot of value from it, a lot of value that I can apply to other, you know, lead generation. So it's not, I wouldn't consider it wasted money just yet. Went on Upwork, and it just, I got to a point where I had a bit of a meltdown, to the point where I was almost literally jumping up and down, pulling my hair out, with stress. It was when everything just collapsed in on me. Couldn't take it anymore, and the reason was is that I spent hours and hours on Upwork, constantly lowering the price, trying to get the next client, because I'm focused on money. I'm focused on, you know, I've got to make money because I've invested. I made what I would consider a lot of money working as a freelancer, because you know, you live overseas, so the cost of living here is a lot less. Made a lot of money as a freelancer and reinvested it back into the business, and the business, well, put it this way, the amount of money that I made back from the business was probably just trying to do some rough calculations here, maybe 5% of what I invested into it. So in other words, out of 100% of my investment that I put into the business to try to make it work, my return was 5% of what I put into it, on top of thousands of hours of me trying to make things work. It did not. It reached a point where I just couldn't take it anymore. and a whole series of things just coalesced at the wrong time. On the same day, on one day, LinkedIn said they were blocking my account, and this is after I'd invested thousands into LinkedIn to build up the network and all this outreach, then closing my account permanently because my identity doesn't match the name on the profile, which was wrong. It was a mistake by LinkedIn. A few days later, LinkedIn contacted me and said that they made a mistake. On that exact same day, HostGator emailed me to say that the payment had failed for the website. So we had signed up to a 3-year plan, I think, or whatever it was, and paid up front 3 years ago. And it just so happened that they've been trying, that the 3 years was up and we were in that 2-week grace period or something. And on the same day that the same day that HostGator said they were going to cancel and delete my website and delete everything on there, you know, it just so happened to be the same day with LinkedIn. And I'm pretty sure that something else happened negative on that day as well. And I just had enough, and I was so deep in the hole, I just couldn't get out. Wasn't prepared to do anything else. Just had enough. I said to my wife, I'm done with it. And it was on that day in February that I just decided I'm going to shut the business. That was it. Done. Finished. So what's the lesson from my story and my pain of getting a 0. Getting a 95%, losing 95% of the money I invested in the business, all the pain, struggle and suffering that I went through? Well, it goes back to the start of this video on what I'm talking about, and that is that I anchored everything that I wanted to do based on a transaction. My target was money. It was to make money for life, freedom and lifestyle. And ultimately, I could not get it to work. Why? Well, the first obvious reason I'd say is because if your North Star is money, there is inherently no meaning in chasing money. You can never have enough money. The more money that you get, the more you tend to hoard it. The less fulfilling it becomes. It's chasing money is inherently meaningless. There's no benefit to it other than, because when you have enough money and you have freedom and lifestyle, well, what's next? More money for more freedom and lifestyle? It doesn't quite work like that. You're constantly chasing the horizon. So I just struggled for so long trying to find meaning and purpose in what I did. Chasing revenue did not motivate me. It only motivated me in order to try to make money to make the business work, and so I could reinvest in the business and to build it up. Did not motivate me anything more than that. Just couldn't get it to work. The second problem is that if you root your vision and everything in revenue, making money, is that every decision you make in your business, in your personal life, is based on that transaction. It's based on that money, making money. You use making money, hourly rates, all of this, return on investment. It means the freelancers and the people you attract to your business, they are only motivated on money. Therefore, there is no loyalty beyond money. They are simply trading their time for your dollar. Granted, there's a lot of people in situations where the business relationship starts like this and there's loyalty. That happens, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people working for an hourly rate, because you've got to exchange your time for something, fair compensation and all. I get it, but the odds are then stacked against you in terms of actually finding the people that you enjoy working with and building the team. At least in my experience, I could never really find freelancers who aligned with me, with who I am, with my values, only superficially. And quite frankly, I found that when I'm putting jobs on Upwork and it's all based on transaction, that you get 50 people apply, and it's all, whenever you speak to them and have a conversation with them and you're trying to tell them about your business and this and that, you've got this superficial excitement from them where, to put it bluntly, they're just kissing your arse because they just want the job, because they want the money from you. And then I was the same when I was trying to attract clients to me, that I'm showing fake interest in their business and what they're doing, because all I want to do is get their money from them. You know, the one client I worked with was involved in Pilates. At the time, I didn't even know what Pilates was. I had to Google what Pilates was before I worked with him, before I had a call with him. And I used to brag about me and not having a clue about what Pilates was, but yet making all this money from this client and making all this money for them. When I'm trying to say, hey, it doesn't really matter what business you're in, because I can work with you anyway and they still make you all this money. Well, no wonder the contract ended bad. Another client I worked with, I actually liked him as a person, but I had to end the contract because things weren't working out. He was an electrician, and he was selling electrical supplies to people. Again, I've got no interest in that, no passion, no interest, nothing for that. This is the kind of thing I went through. Constantly changing who my target audience was because I couldn't get the clients to come in to me. So, you know, health and fitness is a hobby. I run a lot. I like endurance running. So let's try to find health and fitness people. Tried that for a few months, couldn't find anything, couldn't get it to work, couldn't stand out, nothing unique about me. Okay, I'll move on. So what would be another good one? Okay, my other interest might be personal development, the pursuit of improvement. Tried that for a while. Spoke to a few people, got a few prospects there, ended in disaster. Let's try something else. What else do I want? Okay, so let's look at the root of what my offer is. Okay, my offer at the time was a high ticket offer, email marketing services to sell clients high ticket offer. My own offer was a high ticket offer. Okay, what I tried to do is get clients on retainer. Retainer is monthly revenue. Monthly revenue is lifetime value, so continuity-based models. Okay, I'm going to find what businesses have continuity-based models, membership, recurring revenue. That's my target audience. They're going to benefit most from this. Okay, let's target SaaS companies. SaaS, S-A-A-S, software as a service. Well, okay, that's my target audience. Let's chase them. Well, you're talking to someone here that I rarely carry a smartphone with me because I can't figure out how to use it. If I have any kind of tech issue, as simple as setting up a Zoom, I struggle. Technology just, I prefer anything analog. If you want, I've got notes here and things here on paper. When I write and do things, it's paper by hand. I'm not exactly competent in technology, but yet I wanted to work with SaaS companies, software as a service. I don't even know how to switch my own phone on, kind of thing. Tattoo, my wife uploads the videos onto YouTube because I don't know how to do it. I could learn how to do it, but I'd get stressed out with the process. But yet I wanted to target software as a service companies. What was wrong with me? Well, it was all in the pursuit of chasing that money. So what's the point? I've given you lots of examples, I've told my story. The point is that by basing it on that transaction, this transactional goal that you've set yourself, that you base your vision in, your mission in, your why in, it's in the proverb in the Bible. I forgot what it's in. It might be in Matthew, I think, where it's about the builder that builds his house on solid rock versus the person that builds his house on sand, because it's faster and easier. And then when the storm comes, the house on sand falls down, but the house on rock stays firm. Well, that's the story of my former life and former business as a freelancer, because you build your business based entirely on transactional on money. From my experience, not true for everyone. For me, this is for me. Everything keeps changing. My day-to-day emotions affect what my vision is and the decisions I'm making for the future of the business. It's the emotions on a day-to-day basis, even less than on a moment-to-moment basis. My moment-to-moment emotions affect the direction of where my business was going, because I did not have a solid foundation on what I wanted to base everything on. And so, well, your emotions aren't real. They're feelings, they're things that come and go. You have a bad night's sleep. Your brain doesn't work as well. Your emotions tend to be negative, but inner demons come out more when you're tired. So I'm basing my entire business future on whether I've had a good night's sleep tonight, because the quality of my sleep the night before is going to affect how I'm feeling today, which is going to affect my emotions. And if I have more negative emotions, I'm going to be more predisposed to thinking in a different way, and then that's going to influence what I'm going to do. That's what happens when you don't have a solid anchor. You keep changing. Compare it to now. So fast forward, I went through a series of what I can describe as from a probabilistic standpoint, from a probability standpoint, from a statistical standpoint, that were probably divine. So, I became a Christian, and then I invested a lot of time, maybe 1,000 hours or so, into studying things, trying to figure things out, and then I figured things out. I instantly got clarity, and then I decided I'm going to anchor my life, my business vision in Christ-like, becoming Christ-like, where God is always at the top. God supersedes everything. And what does that mean? Well, what that means to me is that if you have God at the top, God and biblical principles refer to things that are infinite, so timeless, eternal, perfect, solid. Biblical principles are your solid rock, your solid foundation. And that means that if you are anchoring yourself to something that does not move, it means that if you anchor yourself to biblical principles, and you pursue becoming Christ-like in your business, and you build your business vision around becoming Christ-like. What do I mean by becoming Christ-like? It means the pursuit of excellence in what you do, excellence in your ability, excellence in your character, excellence in your integrity, excellence in the way that you do things. You always do things to the best of your ability, you don't cut corners. Having integrity. Having integrity would mean that you base your core values and who you are based on solid foundations, which would be the biblical principles, which means you are able to make your decisions consistently. Your decisions are not based on emotions. When your decisions are based on emotions, like what happened to me because I was focusing on money and it just constantly kept changing, is I'd find myself in a situation where I tell myself a lie and say I tell myself a lie to justify a short-term decision that I'm going to make because it gives me a short-term benefit, when it's actually contradictory to my own values. I've got plenty of examples of when that happened. Anchoring your identity in Christ and a core set of Christian values allows you to have that solid foundation so you can make your decisions consistently, which will give you integrity. It's the pursuit of doing everything with extravagant love, which would be you do things for the benefit of others. You set yourself an aim for the day to be a blessing to as many people as you can, human impact. When you do that, when you do things for the benefit of others, it gives things intrinsic meaning. One way to think about this is that imagine your most favourite holiday ever, your most favourite trip, your most favourite experience. Most of the time, your most favourite holiday. think about it, do it. What's your most favourite holiday? Things that come to my mind is when we went to the Rasseria, which is a resort 20 miles up the road, 30 kilometres or so away. And what we used to do was, when we were making a bit of money from freelancing, we used to go there with me, my wife, my son, who was a baby at the time. We used to take my wife's sister and their 2 kids. We'd have 2 rooms there, and we'd have a great time as a family, spending time with the kids. Whenever we go to the resort, they have a band there that works for the resort 3 nights a week, called the Ria Strollers. And because we saw them a few times, we talked to them, we're friendly with them, we always give them tips, and always nice and friendly and chatty and whatnot. And all the staff at the resort are great, really caring. Point is, I've just described off the top of my head my favourite holiday, and what I've just described to you is people. I've described to you the people I went with, the people we met there, and the people we see, and the way that the staff, the employees at the resort treated us, and how great it felt. And if you do the same, you're probably going to tell me something similar about people, relationships, experience you had with others. So if you do things out of extravagant love, and you set yourself an aim to be a blessing to others, this is where you get the meaning, because humans are built for relationships. It gives your life meaning and purpose and value in what you do, because you're doing it for other people and not selfishly for yourself. And so the 4th part of becoming Christ-like is humble service. If you combine the previous 3, humble service is that you always recognise that you have to operate on humble service, because if not, the most dangerous sin of all, pride, is going to surface. Unchecked pride is going to lead to arrogance, narcissism, and a whole bunch of bad things. Well, you can only do these things if you anchor in Christ. If you anchor your identity, your business vision, everything you do in what it means to become Christ-like, in the solid foundation. It means that your pursuit of excellence intrinsically has meaning, because if you anchor it in God, everything you do is a form of worship. You don't cut corners because God's watching. You do things for the benefit of others because God's watching. And all of this will give you meaning in what you do. It's anchoring in that solid foundation. Well, that's the first step. The second step is, after you've anchored in this solid foundation, you need to clarify what your business vision is. The clearer that you are on what it is that you want to do, the more likely it is that you can achieve it. The better you are at communicating what you do and how you help people, the more likely you achieve it too. And you can then pursue money and making revenue in business, because obviously if you're starting out you need to build the systems, but then eventually you're going to reach a point where money's not the big motivator, because other things are more, you've already got the money, you've already achieved the goal, so what next? You anchor in God at the top, aim to become Christ-like. Everything you do has intrinsic meaning, and it stops you from swaying around here and allowing your business vision to be shaped by fleeting moment-to-moment emotions. It avoids you falling into the trap that I did, where this week I'm looking for fitness coaches, next week I'm looking for software companies, the week after I'm looking for people that's got this kind of business, but I end up working with an electrician. It stops that from happening. It gives you clarity on what it is, where you're going, and then your next step is to clarify more and more, because the deeper your own sense of clarity is, the more precise you are in what you're doing, the more precise you are, the more likely you are to achieve it, and also the better you are at communicating with others. Okay, so that's all I've got for you. Make it a great day. See you next time.